God, it's been a while since I've done a slam sync. Here we go.
Slam sync.
Yeah.
Like, is that what that is?
Yeah. And in 3, 2, 1. Then I can match the audio.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, so that your lips move when the words are coming out.
It's helpful.
Because when your lips move when the words aren't coming out, it looks weird. Hello and welcome to Hack 5. My name is Darren Kitchen, and on this dose of Technolust, I'm very excited to be sharing with you the passion for Technolust in developing hacks with one of my favorite hackers, MG. Dude, MG! Awesome to see you, man.
Well,
holy crap, it's crazy to think
good to be back.
It was 3 years ago.
It's crazy.
I mean, 3 years ago, the studio looked a little different. It was
a little bit different.
It was a studio.
Different lighting.
Yeah, indeed, different lighting. But nothing else has changed for the most part.
Not much.
No, 3 years ago, we had you on to demonstrate what you lovingly called Mr. Self-Destruct.
Yes.
A USB flash drive of doom that would ducky-like hit inject keystrokes on a computer and then blow up.
And it allows for ease of soldering and other things like that. I didn't care about any of those things.
Manufacturability.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I wanted small as possible, so I was shrinking it down as much as possible. The vias, which is the pass-through of the board when you're connecting the top layer to bottom layer, I was putting those underneath the actual contacts of resistors and the Smokeout package. It's good.
And since then, I'm so excited because we've partnered on some really fun, exciting,
Things have changed.
Hacker hardware stuff, but also just like to see the evolution of this.
Yeah, it's...
I'm stoked before I head too much further east that we could get some time together to kind of go over like where we've been, what's going on right now, because I know you've got some exciting announcements if you haven't already seen the video, the launch video for the O.MG stuff. It's sick. And then kind of where things are going as it's a year of transition.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Let's dive in.
So, all right, so Mr. Self-Destruct. Is this the guy? Oh my gosh.
So
and who would have that? There's something satisfying about an attack that ends with like a nice fizzle and a smell of like.
you can feel it. You can sensory experience.
If you've ever let the magic smoke out, you know what we're talking about here.
There was a variant that did let the magic smoke out. Oh. Not just the explosive one, just there was a smoke one too.
You're never getting the smoke back in the chip.
And that didn't come out.
and then that episode led to following up with, at the time, was just, proof of concept, your malicious USB cables.
Yeah, exactly. It turned out, the size of the Mr. Self-Destruct, it turns out, I'm a Nine Inch Nails fan, where the name's from. The size of it was great to shove in other things, and it worked.
It worked, and then it led to the project right now, Demon Seed, the educational kit, which if you're looking to do a build, it's a really fun one because you get to follow along MG's videos. You get to little soldering, a little keystroke injection, and build your own implant cable. And so if you're looking to do something kind of inexpensive and kind of proof of concept-y and get your hands dirty and learn something along the way, that's been a really fun one.
Yeah, it's fun. Basically what I did is I like to min-max things. And in the case of Demon Seed, which is the evolution of those cables we first started talking about, took that general schematic and the chip and everything and turned it into what I'm calling the Demon Seed EDU kit, was focusing on how to accomplish certain functions with as little to no additional hardware as possible. And it's cool. It's good for like proof of concept, educational type stuff. But that's a little bit different than min-maxing around other things.
Right. I cannot begin to describe to what level of extremes MG goes to as far as the look and feel and perfection. Like you are a perfectionist. To such an extreme that I think that you've gotten to like the 1-to-1 ratio of what you're actually trying to perfect. Like, if MG was trying to build a map, he would build a map at a scale of 1-to-1. So you would not have the island you were trying to map. You would have a duplicate of the island to every minute detail.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I can... we proved that we can build a malicious USB cable. That's cool. That's what the NSA did in 2008 with Cottonmouth. But I wanted to build your USB cable. It's a little bit different. It's more personal. It's got to be an exact match to get there. And some of those cables are much more difficult to replicate because they have no margins. So the min-maxing in this case would be shrinking things down. But at the same time, if it's not DIY, as a constraint, it's shrinking it down. Let's also maximize how many features and just general functionality we can throw into it, and that is what turned into the O.MG cable.
And the O.MG cable seriously has realized that, and so it's fun to kind of like look back at where we were, 3 years ago with having you on the show and Mr. Self-Destruct, and then the proof of concepts that turned DIY kit with Demon Seed, and then O.MG to the point where now people literally go to big box shops, buy one of these off the shelf, stick a O.MG cable in there, drop it at a pen test. Like, I've heard so many great stories that way that are terrifying and kind of amazing.
And it passes because it looks exactly like it.
I mean, dude, it was DEF CON in 2018 DEF CON that you were making them by hand.
2019. 2019, yeah.
Oh my God, 2019 feels like a decade ago. But yeah, out of your backpack.
Yeah.
Handmade first gen units.
Those things took me 4 hours per cable to hand build, like putting the individual components. Rolling back a little bit, this took me about 2 months to get a proof of concept made entirely in my garage. It's buggy and it would overheat. But yeah, it took another 6 months on top of that to get us to DEF CON 2019, where you and I started syncing up a lot more at that point.
That's where it becomes fun to like learn, like, okay, there's the hacking, like I got something to work, but then there's the hacking, like understanding the supply chain management and manufacturability and customs and all of the import export and all of the logistics of like how you can seamlessly make something like come out of a box and just feel right and work.
Yep.
And that's a lot of fun.
It's just like its whole level of hacking on top of that. It's like, cool, I get this hardware that I can hand make in my garage, 4 hours per cable, but I would like time to not do that. These cables are still heavily handmade, but it took until a year since inception here, so that we're bringing it to what,
December of 2019. I remember because it was New Year's, which is a fantastic time to launch something. But the O.MG cable had its first commercial availability debut with Hack5, and it's been a really fun and exciting partnership since then to see it grow, because since then I know that you've basically taken everything from that first gen and reinvested, and even within that first gen, seeing the keylogger variant of the cable.
That one's magic.
That is crazy voodoo. MG's got this down to like Excel sheets of each clock tick and what it's doing.
Yeah, and like, to get full credit on that one, at this point I now have multiple people helping me on this who are they are so proficient at what they do that they will assemble the keylogger into a spreadsheet, and it's amazing. And honestly, a lot of this project could not be done without the multiple people that it has now become. Yeah, it's good.
It's black magic, and I don't think it could happen any other way. And that is the hacker way. I mean, it's really voodoo what you're doing, because it's signals analysis per like taking a look at waveforms and using a chip that I love it because it reminds me of like what hackers were doing at the original computer clubs in Silicon Valley back in the day.
I love those guys.
Yeah, I mean the PDP-11, that kind of level of stuff. Like the idea that we landed on the moon with a calculator is, I'm not exaggerating here. When you actually look down to like what it's practically discrete logic. It's not that far, but it's practically in terms of like what you're working with,
just below code,
and what you're getting out of it, which is crazy to think that you've got key logging functionality now, and all of that R&D being reinvested brings us to today.
Yep.
Today is a very exciting day because I know you just launched so many new awesome additions to the Mischief Gadgets line.
Yes.
The O.MG cables that have garnered so much notoriety.
Yep.
And finally we have in our USB-C world.
Yeah, so I have been chasing USB-Cs kind of since the beginning, but there's, slightly different sizes here, right?
I mean, look at the boot, right? You fit your attack platform chip and all of its secondary components.
Keylogger and everything.
And Wi-Fi in this, with the antenna and everything.
Yep.
And increase the performance of the Wi-Fi, even in a smaller form factor.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, more help on this one, but also all the profits from the original cables we're rolling right back into it. That's allowed for us to chase this deeper. And yeah, it's better.
Well, the fit and finish is uncanny because I honestly don't know if I'm holding the real thing or an O.MG cable, and and honestly, a lot of times you don't know until you plug it in. Like I know a lot of people leave like little blue tape or something on these to help them remember.
Yeah, I actually start printing off these little orange clips that I include in the bags because some of the cables used to have a little protective tape, and people would leave it on there. I'm like, why are you doing that? And they're like, so I don't get lost. I'm like, well, we got to solve that.
In the same way that I have pineappled myself more times than I can imagine.
Exactly right.
Through have like, you know, keystroke injected themselves inadvertently so many times. It's really exciting to see that evolution, and now today with this new line having, you know, new attack modes.
Yeah, exactly. So
USB-C opens up some really cool new concepts there.
Exactly, right? So I had been min-maxing these cables towards perfect stealth and basically like a perfect evil May deployment. But I realized there's a lot of people who use these for demos, or maybe it's an attacker deployed attack, right? Not necessarily something you have to drop and have your target deploy for you. But in that case, if you roll that back, we've got this type C to C directional cable, which basically means there's a hot end, or, you know, the active end. And that thing you can plug in, you know, to the host and get exactly the same type of keystroke injection against the host. Now you can unplug that, plug that into a mobile device, you know, smartphones, iPads,
because it's a host as well.
Exactly.
That's the kind of exciting thing that comes with USB-C. You plug it at what, an iPad?
Yeah, iPads
or an Android phone.
iPad Pros, I believe you see now.
There you go.
Exactly. So various mobile devices that you see, we can do keystroke injection that way.
And I would assume one of those attack modes is also the key logger.
Yes,
which
exactly.
you know, debuted with a USB-A to USB Micro, Lightning, and C variant. So in this case, for a computer that's USB-C to, I mean, there's numerous keyboards that use Lightning.
Yeah,
or USB-C.
There's a very common one in the wild, but you know, C to C as well. But yeah, there's a lot of like high-end keyboards that have detachable cables, whether that's just because they're, you know, a high-end keyboard where you want to be able to replace that, or maybe they're wireless, but they fall back to USB when they're plugged in. So this is great for that scenario too, and that's where the key logging comes in as an optional feature.
So with mobile, with key logging, the thing that I was honestly the most surprised about, and it kind of blew my mind, because you may have seen the video. We went out to our old stomping grounds in Oakland around Lake Merritt and did a Wi-Fi shootout. The range is incredible. And I know we talked about Wi-Fi in terms before on the show about how like cool it is that you can geofence an attack and say like, hey, I want to limit the scope of engagement. I want to make sure that this attack only runs if you're within the corporate headquarters where we expect to see this Wi-Fi network, or if you're off-site where we expect not to see this Wi-Fi network. But also the triggerability of it to say like, hey, I just want to send a packet that's going to make the payload execute whenever I want, as opposed to, oh, I plugged in my cable, then suddenly my computer started doing something. So if you've got eyes on the target.
Exactly.
And you can see like, oh, they just went to reach for their coffee. Now's the time to inject the keystrokes.
Exactly.
You know, something from some crazy Jason Bourne movie, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That we could actually do that with a big antenna on a balcony of a 25-story building across all of Oakland and get like 2+ kilometers until we hit a federal building, and literally couldn't go any further because I think you're not supposed to storm those. I'm not really sure. In any event, that was just incredible, because that's some real Wi-Fi range there.
Right. And you know, just for clarity, so there's a full featured like Wi-Fi interface that you can interface with a browser or, you know, scriptable WebSocket. But if we wanted to chase maximum range, well, let's see if we can do that. And that's what we were testing effectively. And so I had the help of Troy Brown, who helped optimize the RF performance on these Type-C cables, so they get some extra range. And if we use some existing features that were basically for triggering Wi-Fi like blindly, as you were explaining, that is how we can get really, really long range.
Yeah, it's incredible too, because when you're only looking to get, you know, passively viewing a single frame of traffic, one packet, if you will, as opposed to having that full SYN-ACK, you know, a live experience. I've seen some crazy RF performance. We could have gone for miles and miles. It was just a matter of line of sight. And that's just that's just like another really fun one, and I love that, because also we've been doing something similar to that with a new product that I would love to talk about, but there's problems with not the product, with just the world.
You've been having some of those too.
I've been having some of those.
We should talk about those.
We should definitely. And I know that kind of also leads into like the future of what you're doing because part of that R&D and everything that has come to fruition now with all of the new USB-C variants of the O.MG cable, be it keylogger or otherwise, with the Wi-Fi and the attack modes and, mobile and smartphones, is also the V2 firmware, which I know that you and your team have just been like so adamant about, like perfecting the performance, getting that speed up, adding new features. I know you've already, MG is the first officially licensed Duckyscript, partner here.
I'm happy about that.
And has added to the Duckyscript language that we've then implemented on our own.
That's really cool.
New hardware that's ready to go, that just needs to enter the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the V2 firmware, and it's a work in progress, but the idea of the original stuff came out, we didn't have it out in the wild yet, and it's kind of this initial, like, let's get it out, let's see how people like it, and a lot of people loved it. So we're taking a lot of that R&D and seeing how much more we can improve the firmware to do things like speed up the keystroke speed. There's a whole laundry list of things we want to try and accomplish, and it's still going, but something that I'm actually pretty proud of is that this will support every single cable. The V2 firmware will support every single cable going back all the way to DEF CON.
Backwards compatible to the hand-built ones?
Yes, exactly.
That's incredible. And with software, you're going to increase the range by 4-fold to like 8 miles over software? No, I'm kidding. I'm promise that to the viewers. Sorry. Throwing you under the bus. And you also implemented Duckylang, which has been a long-standing command in the Duckyscript language, which allows you to specify what your target keyboard map is, because the UK Shift 3 does different than the US Shift 3.
For example, right?
Yeah, because pounds and pounds. I think it's pound. In any event.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's exciting because I know that opens up a whole new world of possibilities for our international audience.
Yes, exactly.
And it's not even just the Duckylang that you've implemented from Duckyscript. You've developed back into Duckyscript, which we all have. At docs.hack5.org, you can see the whole language and what commands are compatible with which products. Actually, you implemented something in your O.MG cables with the if present that allows you to do remote triggers, which then we later implemented in one of these. Ooh. So that's for you. That's a new Hack 5 product that I would love to be releasing right now, except... Oh, same thing with this. Here, have one of these as well, but keep that on the DL because don't have because we don't have enough units to launch unless we want to tickle me Elmo of the world.
Sounds like you've got some supply chain problems, Darren.
Let's talk about the future, because the future is a giant question mark.
Yes.
I feel like there's like a little like Mario like like what is in the box?
What's in that future box?
Yeah, it's the chip shortage is real. I'm gonna peek the curtain just back for just a moment and be real with y'all. Like, no need to worry. Everything will work itself out. However, for us, small manufacturers making boutique hardware, for us hackers, it's a really tough place to be able to try to compete for chips with the likes of GM and Ford and everybody under the sun that is like frenzy buying.
It is worse than the toilet paper situation. If you're from the US, you'll know that.
Oh yeah.
Where everybody's just panic buying because they want it. It's worse than that. They're not only buying it so that they can have it for the future, they're buying it so that their competition cannot have it. That's a layer that, imagine if that was happening with toilet paper. That would be weird.
That is kind of, yeah. Like, I'm buying all the toilet paper in the pandemic so that my neighbor can't have any. Screw him.
No, it's real. It's happening.
It is, yeah. And to the point where we were doing the cost on one of the bigger ones that I just handed you, like literally the cost to manufacture it is more than the price to sell it.
Yep.
Which doesn't make sense, so it's just going to have to shelf until we can get to an equilibrium state in the market.
Yep.
We're seeing, at the very least, a 25% increase, and the lead times that used to be something like, 4 to 8 weeks. Like, okay, we got to place an order. We're going to run out of stuff in about 2 months. Like, let's place it now so that we get new stuff in and never go out of stock. simple stuff, like little micros.
At least a year out. Like for
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff, at least a year out. With unknown once it gets to that point.
Question marks. And that's going to be something that we're going to have to figure out how to tackle, because it's facing, we're all facing this. I'm glad that, you had some foresight with some of this and got a handle on that with O.MG.
Just barely in front of it. So not sure how long it's going to last, but hey, it's there. We were able to launch it. This
is a moving target, and it's one of these that we may end up talking about again in the future as we kind of get a better handle on it. But, I just want to acknowledge the unknown in the same way that, like, DEF CON 2021 announced that they're going to do virtual and in person. And we're, like, within our group, like, half of us are vaccinated, half of us are on the way to getting vaccinated, and all the other things that go with that.
Yeah.
So I don't know right now.
Me neither. But you know what we can do is that's a hardware problem. No,
that's a hardware problem.
These are
oh, hardware. If only you could just hit F5 to compile and be like, oh, warning,
right?
Oh, semicolon.
And that's exactly what I had when I was in my garage and I was building these, but that doesn't scale.
No.
But with the V2 firmware stuff, that's something we can continue chasing. We can still continue doing R&D in my garage, but we don't know what the future looks like when we want to bring this, to the market. So we'll see.
That's actually why we're focusing on Cloud C2,
exactly
the software product that integrates with the Hack5 suite of hardware, as well as, payloads, modules. I know that there's like 8 modules in the works right now for the Wi-Fi Pineapple.
Nice.
So what else are you going to do, right? Focus on content. Like, hey, YouTube channel, like, let's focus on, making things that don't require silicon. Or
using the existing silicon that's already out there. With the V2 firmware, for instance, there's a lot of stuff that we've got on the table to make things better, play with new novel attack pathways. One thing I'm comfortable mentioning is that we're going to at least try to get the Hack5 Cloud C2 product supported in the O.MG cable.
Now, a lot of people have been asking for that, and it's kind of a no-brainer because, especially as you've got those Wi-Fi triggers, when you've got the potential for exfiltration and things of that nature. I mean, there's a lot of loot to be had here, especially when you have a persistent implant. So there you go. I hope that gives you guys an idea of, like, not only how we got here, but, like, some really exciting new developments and kind of the context of those. Because, this didn't just happen overnight. And it's kind of crazy to think that it happened because, you made a flash drive that exploded. Which, unfortunately, we cannot sell because, like, teenagers will blow their hands off and very angry mothers would be emailing us. This is, oh, you know what? Actually, okay, so you get some potassium nitrate. I'm hearing the lawyers calling already.
Sounds fun, though.
Yeah, it does sound fun. Dude, this has been fun, and I'm excited to see where this is going next. I know that you've got some other secret projects in works, and just thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man, it's been good.
Like, making fun stuff. That's what this is all about.
It's been great. Thanks for enabling it, too. I mean, honestly, getting to this point required so much of you.
Oh, dude, you're getting no. Stop it. Stop it. I'm going to start blushing. I'm just happy to be hacking, honestly. Yeah, and I'm happy that we can be hacking and sharing our passions and providing platforms for you so that you can be hacking and developing software that thankfully doesn't require silicon that's in shortage, so that you can write some payloads, and if you would like to, you can submit those to the various GitHubs, get featured. There's some really exciting developments on that front as far as, like, featuring some really cool payloads and rewarding you guys for writing them. There's some award programs in the works. So there we go. We all win.
Yeah,
which is fun.
It's about everybody. Get everybody in on it.
Okay, cool. Kind of a long one, but fun one regardless. Thank you for tuning in. With that, now you know about the O.MG and MG. Dude, it's great to see you. You know how we end this. As always, guys, I'm Darren Kitchen.
I'm MG. Trust your criminal instincts.
What? Hey, Darren, we're going to need to do a pickup here on 2, 1, beep. Oh, I clapped and then beep. 3, 2, still rolling, extra clap. Hack5, we got the clap. Okay. Thanks for supporting Hack5. Find all our shows, community, and pen test products at hack5.org.